Living on a sailboat might be all the rage amidst high cost of living, but what about the high cost of sailboats? This week, we went in search of the cheapest sailboat you can live on. We're talking standing headroom, somewhere to sleep bigger than a coffin, somewhere to cook, and an enclosed bathroom, all in a package that you can hoist the sails on and head to warmer climates whenever it suits you. And we found just the ticket, the Newport 27. This is a California boat. That's where they were created and built, and it was designed by a few Georges. George Cuthbertson and George Cassian. And if those Georges sound a little familiar, they should. Cuthbertson and Cassian went on to found C&C Yachts, one of the most prolific sailboat builders in the world. They found success very quickly when they built the first Newport 27 back in 1971 because, like most of the boats the two Georges penned, she was fast, very fast. The 27 started showing up on the racing scene right away, but that's not what we love most about this little boat. We'll get to that. They built these for about 15 years, and construction was typical for a cheap boat in the 70s. The hull was hand-laid glass, probably thicker than it needed to be, and the keel is lead. All the through hulls were bronze, but they're fitted with PVC gate valves. We used to see this a lot on older boats. The first thing I would do as an owner, if it hasn't been done, is get rid of those plastic gate valves. They have no business being on a sailboat. They're way too easy to bump into sideways, snap in half, and sink the boat in minutes. Dry storage on these boats seems endless, but tankage was very small for more than maybe a weekend cruise. The holding tank's only 6 gallons, that's a couple flushes. Switching to a composting head would be my second liveaboard upgrade after swapping out those silly gate valves. Tiller steering was standard on these boats, and the hull featured a fin keel and a pretty balanced spade rudder. Early models drew 4 foot 3 inches. The Mark II models were a bit deeper at 5 foot 2 for improved upwind performance. This boat weighs a fairly standard for her size 6,000 pounds, so she'll be a lovely boat to sail in light winds up to about 20. But beyond that, you'll want to reduce sail pretty quickly. Some complaints have been made about her being kinda tender, and her original main sheet traveler being kind of inadequate under load, it would bind up. But that can be upgraded if the current owner hasn't already done it. Most Newport 27s came with an inboard auxiliary, either a gas atomic 4 or later an 11-horse universal diesel. Some came with outboards though. Access to the internal engine on either inboard version is pretty good. I think if it were me, I'd prefer an outboard version of this boat if the goal was to live on it. That way, I can invest in a really good solid outboard to hang off the back in exchange for more space inside the boat where an inboard would have been. I can turn that into something else, batteries perhaps. The rig is a masthead sloop with a sail area to displacement of just under 17, so she should be okay in light air, reefing as the wind builds. And owners do comment about her having a lot of weather helm when things kick up, so you want to reef that mainsail first and as soon as you start to feel that weather helm coming. CSF is an adequate 2.02, which is very close to ocean worthy, but still somewhat tender. Hull speed is mathematically 6.21 knots, but many racers have exceeded that in good wind on a broad reach, and I found several stories online about this boat being a seriously competitive racer despite its large accommodations, which is the real magic with this boat. Its interior. You won't even believe this is a 27-footer. For a 27, the boat has an unusual amount of accommodation inside, standing headroom just over 6 feet, which is ridiculous on a 27. I've never had a 27 I could stand up and walk around in. It's a lot like being on a 36-footer when you're in here. The most common interior layout featured a V-berth, a head, and a small locker forward of the mast. Settees measuring 6 feet in length run along the sides of the saloon. 2 people can sit comfortably on each settee, so dinner for 4, which then the table can be folded up onto the bulkhead when it's not in use, or used as a nav desk. Aft of the settees is a small counter. It's got a sink, an icebox, and on the opposite side is a 2-burner stove. Variations on this layout sometimes included a quarter berth or a fixed dinette with raised seating fore and aft, and an aft head sometimes. Regardless of which layout you find, Oiled teak was used liberally in here. If it were just one person or even a younger couple, you could definitely live in this boat. It's everything you need and nothing that you don't. But unlike anyone else on something small, you can still stand up inside without bonking your head. You still have a separate sleeping area. This is a big deal. You have a separate sleeping area up front and a living area in the middle. In such a short amount of space of the platform of this boat, I would have been tempted to put the main sleeping area in the middle and have it convert into a living area, have the bed fold away or whatever every morning. But doing that is a big pain. Ask me how I know. But this boat managed to keep the sleeping area and the living area separate, having you sleep up front, which is a big plus, especially in a 27-footer. After fixing those gate valves and adding a nature's head, I might be tempted to add a small arch on the back to mount a big solar panel on, and then put some bendy panels on the side decks. Then I'd spend my time chasing and fixing leaks in the rain and sailing from warm island to warm island. A sailor with any experience and good patience could get one of these boats very far. If I found one on the East Coast, I wouldn't hesitate, if it were properly repaired, to wait for the appropriate weather window and then sneak across to the Bahamas. Now, it might sound crazy to some of you, crossing from Florida to the Bahamas on an old 27-footer with an outboard motor. Are you out of your mind? Yes, why not? Sam Holmes did it on a Hobie Cat. On a boat this light, it's all about finding the perfect weather window for that crossing. 10 to 15 out of the west or south or southwest? Absolutely, a leisurely 8-hour sail out of Biscayne Bay, landing in Bimini in time for supper. What we're looking at for on these boats is rotted deck core, old rigging holding the stick up, cracks and stressful spots of the glasswork from decades of hard sailing or racing. We're looking at the keel attachment. We're looking for water intrusion. We found a lot of these old 27s for sale, many for less than 10 grand and several for less than 5. Go look at 5 or more of them and I bet you'll find a winner. And speaking of winners for small sailboats, did you see the article we posted on the O'Day 30? A little bit bigger of a boat. Over 250 of these 30-footers were built from 77 to 84, so they're easy to find, they're cheap, and they're very livable if the 27 wasn't enough for you. If you want to learn more about this article, it's a great resource on an excellent little cruising boat. I'll leave a link in the description. It's worth checking out. That's it for this week. What do you think of small sailboats like the Newport 27? Would it be too small for you? Or what else would you do to modify a little cruiser like this to live aboard? Let's hear it in the comments. Also, if you like small, cheap sailboats, hit the thumbs up button for me and hit subscribe so I can see you again next time.